He looked like he was about to vomit. I focused again on Xavier's face, trying to tamp down my panic. I was a good employee. I'd worked for Directus, telemarketing with a personal touch, for almost 2 years. Not that you had to be great to be a telemarketer, but I was. I hadn't done anything wrong. "For my expressions?" I asked. "Over the phone?" "Your face makes it clear you don't think very highly of the management here. Quite frankly, it gives the impression that you have a dark soul. You can gather your things, and Gary will walk you out." He was right about the first part. I did think everyone in management was useless. Xavier's pretentiousness was really annoying. A few days after my coworker had told me about his pallet of grass, I'd dropped off a document in Xavier's office. He hadn't been there, so I'd taken my chance and gotten down on my hands and knees to see under his desk. The grass had looked kind of shiny and short. Who watered it? Where was its light source? So many questions. My heart beating fast, I'd leaned over and touched a blade. It had felt like plastic. There's no way this dude has a square of AstroTurf under his desk, I'd thought. For weeks after, when I was falling asleep, I couldn't help thinking about Xavier and his feet and his AstroTurf. Did being a CEO automatically make you weird? Could fake grass connect you to anything? I didn't like Bobbert either. His hands were always wet, and he laughed loudly at his own jokes. But I hadn't said that out loud, had I? At least not to anyone except my closest friends, when no one else was around. Had my resting bitch face awakened? And even so, shouldn't they just give me a warning? But the other part? What the fuck? "I have a dark soul?" I asked. "I foster kittens for the Humane Society." Dark soul. Walk her out, Gary. He slid a piece of paper toward me with my name, Vanessa Blair, handwritten across on top. A box labeled "Insubordination" was checked. I almost laughed out loud, despite the panic flooding through me. The number of people throughout my life who had probably wanted to call me out for insubordination, and I'd made it to 28 before it had actually happened. Because of my face. "How in the world do you know what kind of soul I have? And how is this relevant to my job performance?" "As I just explained, your face." He looked at me as if I were a small child for asking. An ill-timed snort escaped me. This was beyond ridiculous, and yet they all looked perfectly serious. I opened my mouth to request the real reason they were firing me, but Xavier shook his head and said, "Go." Gary, the HR guy, who had been silent the whole time, got up and opened the door. He still wouldn't look at me. Bobbert shrank farther down in his seat. I followed Gary out of the conference room, my legs shaky, making eye contact with my coworker Jane as I walked past. "Fired," I mouthed to her as I went to pack up my mountain of coffee mugs and fancy pens in an empty box that had appeared on my desk during my absence. "What?" she mouthed back. "No way! What for?" I shrugged, still reeling from the unreality of it all. I said, "I don't like his feet, and he doesn't like my face." "Are you all high?" Jane asked, wide-eyed. Gary walked me toward the door as I heard Xavier say behind me, "Jane, please come in the conference room to meet with me, Bob, and Gary." Shit. Jane too? What was wrong with her face? Gary escorted me all the way to my car. A slight rain had begun to fall. Balancing my belongings on my hip, I fumbled in my handbag for my keys, but couldn't find them. I dug through all the sample lipsticks and old receipts, searching as hard as I could. Gary turned around to go back inside. I set my stuff on the curb in a heap and slumped beside it, letting the rain ruin my makeup as I looked up at the clouds and waited for Jane. The September air was colder than it had been earlier, and the concrete curb felt like a block of ice through my dress pants. I shivered. I was pretty sure